printing money is bad, right? It's inflationary. But borrowing printed money is insane.
Yeah.
In an inflationary environment, debt, for lack of a better term, is a blessing. Now, many people use it as a curse, to be fair. But if you use debt as a blessing, you only use it to leverage productive or appreciating assets. You never use debt to finance or fund a depreciating asset. So, like a vacation, you would never fund that with debt. That's just a memory you wouldn't get anything out of. And things that are not productive obviously shouldn't be financed. But if we look at it from another perspective, anything that is going to increase in value over the long term should be financed, particularly when the cost of the money to purchase, that's obviously the other thing. The cost of money, right? Money is a tool, and it's used to purchase these assets. And so the cost of that money is what determines its value or its usefulness. The higher its cost, the less useful it is in terms of borrowing. So you want to take advantage of low interest rates whenever you can. And you do that, okay, debt is a blessing. You can buy a $100,000 house with 95% financed, 5% down. So you put $5,000 down and you leverage that house. Now you own the house and you are $5,000 out of pocket. And each month you make monthly mortgage payments, which are interest for the most part and deductible from your income tax. So there's no better deal for the average American than to own your first home, your home that you live in, plus the tax treatment, et cetera. Then you combine that now into the second property that you buy, which could be bought with the equity built into the first property, again, with debt. If you had to save your money before you could buy a house, how many homeowners would we have? Not many. We'd be perpetually renting. So this power to mortgage your house was given to us essentially at the close of the last depression in 1934 with the introduction of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac into the marketplace. So these entities and the FHA were provided to give mortgages to individuals to buy homes. Now, if you take a typical rich person who would get a $100,000 windfall of money, they would first take that $100,000 and buy a sovereign debt instrument, like a treasury bond or a treasury bill or a treasury note. And then they would post that bond as collateral and borrow back $95,000 to deploy for investment. And the theory and the logic is that their bond continues to yield interest while the money that was used to purchase it is now at their disposal again in order to purchase another asset. You multiply that by stocks and bonds and every other tangible, gold, real estate, of course, and you can see whoever creates the debt first gets the most use out of it as the 10 years or 20 years goes by. So, as a stark example, you go back to 1977, or no, it would be 1987, and somebody took a 30-year mortgage, 87, 97, 2007, 2017. So they took a 30-year mortgage on a $100,000 house, and they paid it off over that time, and now the house is worth $300,000 or $350,000. Well, let's assume they did an interest-only mortgage, meaning they never paid for the house. They only ever paid interest every single year for 30 years. And then at the end of 30 years, they still owe the $100,000 that they paid for the house, but they just sold it for $300,000. So again, debt can be used as a blessing. If you find yourself, however, using debt as a curse, then you get the tendency to say, okay, I'm going to follow those three big rules that I was given by Grandpa, which was save your money, pay your debts off early, and live debt-free. And that seems to be the mantra that is being professed by the financial gurus today, at least the ones that I hear. And, you know, the idea that you would save your money while each year it's worth less through quantitative easing and inflation, and pay off your debts, that means you're not using debt as a blessing, and live debt-free, meaning you're going to rule that possibility out for the rest of your life. Boy, you're a sheep, no question about it, because your money as you save it is being used by others and depleted in value, and then you're getting a return that's meager at best and taxed because of the meagerness of it. So, $100,000 at 2%, and a third of that is going to the tax man every year. You're not getting any growth. with a passive income generator where that house appreciates 5% or even the same 3% a year, you keep the whole 3% and it compounds. You don't pay tax on it until it's sold. So debt can most certainly be a blessing, but it can also be a curse. I think I summed it up at one point with the chainsaw analogy. You know, chainsaw is a great tool, but if you don't know how to use it, you should probably put it down. You shouldn't use it at all. And the same is true of debt. It's a great tool, but if you don't know how to use it, you could really hurt yourself. There's no small cuts with
so,
chainsaw.
Well said.